What's up, Wes?
What's up, man? There we go.
Dude, you're never gonna fucking believe what happened, man. I was loading up my profile presentation template I have for the talk show, and I saved over it by accident. So I had to try to quickly put something together that was whatever. But that's fine. I mean, it just took a little longer than I thought. No big deal.
Yeah, so, that sucks.
It happens. Life goes on. It's a Monday night. It's no big deal. Actually, the traffic's been really low online lately, so. Yeah, digging up the old Skype chats, Popka. What's up, homie? I was in Skype earlier, and I went to the old multi-tap, the legacy one from 4 years ago, and was typing some stuff in just for shits and giggles. There's an original multi-tap chat that has 9 people in it, of the original people, so that's what he's talking about. All right. Let's see. I can't even find my fucking starting music. That's just bad. It's a bad omen, but it's whatever. Oh, Lord. Lord have mercy. We are back again. It's been a long time. I apologize. I've had a lot of stuff going on, and today was not any better. I almost didn't do it, but I've been talking with my buddy Wes about it, and my wife had her wisdom teeth cut out today, so I've had to take care of her for most of the day, as most of you who have ever had to go through that kind of know. So, but luckily I finally was able to put her to bed, and here we are. So not too anything really great to talk about, but a few things that I've been on my mind. If it's been a couple weeks ago, I might have talked about the whole Delta Airlines thing, but that's kind of stale and old now, so we won't touch on that. I missed the opportunity for, and I think that would have been a good argument for you all, but unfortunately, it's old hat, and we won't be going back and talking about that shit. So, but no big deal whatsoever. So, but we're here, and most of my good friend Wes is with us. From did you finally change your name of your channel? I meant to ask you, is this still Westapo, or did you...
Yeah, nah, I'm late, dude. I'm a procrastinator, dude. So
okay.
I've been meaning to change it for over a year.
Okay.
I'm not good at thinking of names, to be honest with you. So
I'm not at all either. I mean, look at my new Twitch name. It's not it's not really original either. So it could be worse. It could be better. It is what it is.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to try to find a brand that's going to fit you. That something that you're going to have to stay with forever. But
yeah, I mean, I've always been like that. Like when I used to jam with my buddies and shit, we try to come up with a name for a band. We can never think of anything.
Yeah,
good.
It's hard because there's especially with music, there's just so many. I mean, maybe it was 50 years ago, it might have been a little easier because there weren't so many bands. But now they've got so many different, even garage bands on YouTube who never went anywhere, but that they took the name, so to speak. You know what I mean? So it's it just makes it that much harder to find something original that works for you, if not impossible.
Yep.
But it is what it is. So, but we got a few things we can touch on, gaming wise and otherwise. So I think this will be fun. We were going to have Mr. Jolly Popka, but alas, he is doing some packing. We will not go into why he's packing, but I know that's a good thing. He's been talking about moving and doing things like that for a while, so he will not be joining us, but he'll be in spirit. I think he's in the chat. I expect it to be a low-volume night tonight just because I've been watching a lot of other streamers, and this last couple weeks have been pretty slow. I think summer's kind of kicking in. People aren't around as much, so no big deal. But the last will still go into some other stuff. So the first thing I want to go into, and this just goes in a nice little segue. What's he say? Titted? Tired. Titted tired.
He must be.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. The first thing I want to go into, and this is something I think that Wes can talk to a lot as well. Although I hope so. I don't know exactly. Wes has been on YouTube even before his channel started. Prior a couple of years, I don't know how long. I think the only person I know of who's been on YouTube a long time is Benny. I think Benny's been doing it since before the teens of the 2000s. He had his own separate channel, and there's really if any of you want to see some really weird video, there's some really strange old school YouTube shit from Benny's old channel. He was one of the original guys. Started around AVGN times. He let it fall, and then now he's got his new brand and everything. But it was interesting. It's totally different. But yeah, so he was back then. But I know Wes is the same kind of scenario. I believe he had other stuff on YouTube or whatnot, not on his channel. So he's not. It's not like he just came into the scene a year or two ago. And I'm pretty certain though too. He knows a lot about the legacy of YouTube's AVGN, Chris Borat. Boris, is it Borat or Boris? Yeah,
Boris.
Some of the big guys that are in the gaming ones, some that are not big in the gaming. Different legacy YouTubers. Even JonTron and Game Grumps to some degree can almost be legacy at this point. They've been doing it that was so many years ago. Do you know what I mean? To some degree, depends on how far you want to go back. So familiar with that. And I was thinking about this the other day because I'm still subscribed to AVGN, and I think a lot of us have owe him a lot as far as getting us started or getting us interested or even getting us to even try YouTube or go to YouTube to even look at material like this, to kind of discover that there was material like this being made. I think a lot of us owe that to him. And nothing will ever knock him out of his place in history. It's like Metallica. Love or hate Metallica, Metallica was one of those bands who made enough albums, made enough waves in the music scene that they are kind of like semi-crowned as the 80s, 90s pillar of what metal music got pushed into the mainstream and as it diversified off. Not to say that there's anything wrong with some of the other bands like Anthrax or Megadeth or speed metal bands or any of that other stuff. It's just they happen to be the ones that are always going to be in the forefront, kind of like AC/DC was prior, or Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. I mean, they different generation, but still same kind of like band on there. So, yep. Or the Who or any of that shit like that, or the Beatles. But so AVGN, I don't even know. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I think he's like on 125 episodes or something like that.
It's something like
something
that,
to the degree. It basically James Rolfe has basically slowed down his original AVGN series. After he hit 100 is really when he pulled it back. He did a really, really big episode and in a movie right around the time of his 100th episode. But after that, he's been very selective about what he does, and his material, when he does AVGN stuff, trickles out. You maybe see now maybe 3 or 4 a year, I believe, that are strictly AVGN stuff. He does other things, of course, but it's very slow going. And a lot of people have said, some people are like, it's better that way because they can put more time into it. I know a couple of his other episodes after 100, he had like Lloyd Kaufman on there, and he's had some other. The ones that he does do, sometimes he gets big collabs with like Pat the NES Punk and different people like that. So you're able to put more time rather than rushing him out. But at the same time too, it's weird. And I don't know, Wes, when the last video you saw of AVGN's is, but I think it's getting to the point for me, and I don't know how many people are in here who might differ from that opinion, that when he does put out an AVGN episode, it has totally gotten to the point where, for me, it's lost its appeal. And I don't think it's not that it's not a fresh idea. No one that I know of does a complete ripoff of AVGN. There's a certain style, there's a certain layout, a template, so to speak. We all stole little bits here and there from that we liked and cannibalized it, but there's nobody who's doing a full thing. So it's still in a kind of an original series to some degree. But it's really weird, and I think I talked about this on the Multitap podcast years ago, like almost like a year and a half ago too. James is now a little bit older than me, so I want to say he might be a little bit younger than Wes. I think he's 36, 38.
Yeah, he's something like, I think he's like 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, so he's right in there. I'm going to be 35 this year, so I think he's a year or so older than me. He's a bit older. He's got the American dream going on. He makes his living off of the AVGN or Cinemassacre brand, so he no longer works for anybody. He makes money off of there. He's got a wife. He's got a mortgage. He's got a kid. You know what I mean? So he is, and I think honestly the unfortunate thing about his scenario, which is a lot of people have talked about with YouTubers, is that as he's gotten more successful, his like that raw that that raw visceral videos he did, like whether it be the Dracula or the Frankenstein video or the or any of those ones that was right in there, probably around episodes 30 to 60 or 80, is no longer there. You know what I mean? He just it's hard when you're that age and you got a kid and you got all these other things to come out and still have that anger and have that that creativity or that sort of that vile shit that he used to do. More so now, I think he's a little more reserved. I think he's even said it in interviews before that he's not, you know, it's not the same thing. You don't think that way forever. So it's. I really wish, if nothing else, I really wish he would stop. And like I said, I wish there were more people in here so we could talk about it a little more other than me and Wes. But I feel as though every time I see it, it's kind of what happened to me with like the Ernest movies. You know, the first like 4 or 5, you know, I mean, they're all campy. Don't get me wrong, they're not Shakespeare. But the first 4 or 5 I thought were really good. But as it started going on and he started getting noticeably older and the budgets got lower and he started, and as many of you know, Jim Varney, or Varney, I can't remember how he said his last name, was stricken with cancer. So he started getting sick late into his career. He started getting more noticeably sicker on film, but he was still trying to make these movies. And I just think it was just sad. It's sad when they have to stretch that shit out. I really wish that AVGN would have... And my thing is with this, I think AVGN should have died because I think James has done a really good job of handing over his channel to Mike Matei. And now I know Mike Matei has his own... I don't remember the guy's name. Mike Matei has this, like, his own lackey. I don't know if you've ever seen. He's like a bigger, baller, fatter white guy that Mike Matei plays with.
He's got a couple of guys. That Ryan guy.
Yeah, there's a couple guys other than the ones that were the original. Like that he had a little group of 2 or 3 people that were other than him. So Mike Matei's got his own like group guys, and they do videos usually every week on something. And then James still puts out other videos. So I mean, he's done a really good job in having other videos non-AVGN to keep his channel alive and keep producing money for him. But I really think it's time that he retires that whole series, just because I think it's run its course. He can't do it anymore. He's not in that frame of mind, and I don't know. It's an unfortunate example of somebody who did it for 10 years, but now he's grown up. He just can't do it. I mean, you don't want to be 60 years old making fart and shit jokes. You know that can only go for so long, and then that's a bad example because he's not that old. But at some point, we all kind of grow up to some degree, and when you become successful and have that shit, then you can no longer do that. But and maybe I'm just rambling. And what I think is interesting about this scenario is I can think of 3 or 4 other people, and then we'll talk about them here in a minute, that are kind of falling into this weird multi-year success, and their videos, that their staple videos that they used to do, are no longer a reflection of it. And I think a lot of it has to do with their age. But anyways, back Wes. So, what do you think? I'm totally off base. I don't know if you've watched all the AVGNs, or you've watched the last couple of years. Are you even a big fan of any particular seasons or years or anything like that?
I mean, I agree with you. I haven't watched the last new AVGN episode. I watched was the Paperboy one, which was probably like at least 6 months ago.
Yeah,
maybe even closer to a year ago when that one came out. And the main reason I watched it is because I'm a big Paperboy fan. Otherwise, I probably would have skipped it. His last few, like, he did, like, I think, like, Berenstain Bears and Power Rangers. Like, I hate the Power Rangers, so I totally avoided that one. And then just this recent one, I have this page pulled up. The Sonic game. Like, I just have no interest in the game. So the show now is just... isn't appealing enough for me to watch it despite what the game is. You know? Now I'll only watch it if I'm interested in the game that he's covering. And I agree with you. It's just... I mean, there's still some good jokes and stuff in there, but it's almost like we've seen it all before. We kind of know what to expect. I don't know, man. Like,
yeah. Well, it's you know, it's funny. It's funny that we, and this goes back to just anything else. I mean, as much as you'd like to say like 06, 07, right, when AVGN started blowing up, right? To say in our minds, like from a point of for a point of a life, which most people live like 60 or 80 years, right? 10 years ago isn't that big of a deal, right? I mean, it's really not. But in YouTube years, if you want to call them, like the dog years, you know what I mean? Like 10 years in technology years, or 10 years in what I guess what YouTube technology years would be, is like a lifetime. Do you know what I mean? It's like way more. Yeah, and that just goes with anything. Like me and you, 10 years. I was 25 10 years ago. You were, I don't remember how you're probably like 30 or close to that, 28, 29. So I mean, yeah, was it a long time ago? Yeah, but it wasn't like if you said 20 years for us when we were 15 or you were like 18, or 19. That's a much bigger deal than being 10 years ago or 25. But for YouTube, it was just a lifetime. I mean, remember when he was putting up videos, I still think they had the 10-minute rule, where the longest video you could get was 10 minutes and the highest res you could get was like 480p.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that just shows you the difference of what had to be done there as far as what YouTube. And it was still, I mean, it didn't have ads and all that shit. We didn't know what it was going to go into. It was still kind of like a guerrilla network type of a scenario being put out there. But it's interesting to see that we're now getting, because it's still a young technology, we're getting to the point where we're seeing these original guys starting to get into what I guess would be their older parts of their YouTube careers, and how some of them have changed or falling off or totally disappeared. I think Pat the NES Punk is another great example of one. I don't know how well you follow his stuff. I was not a big adopter of his material when he first came out. I kind of found him, segue through James. I knew him before they did their collabs together, but I kind of like, as I got bigger into YouTube, I was like, oh, Pat the NES Punk. And I'll be the first one to admit, I've never really liked most of the stuff that Pat does. I don't think there's ever anything wrong with his acting. I don't think his writing. I think his acting is kind of lame, the way he does his stuff. But his writing is pretty quality. Pat knows how to write.
I think his lame ass acting is actually half of the appeal.
You think? And that may be that may be work for it. But for me, I never got into Pat the NES Punk like I did AVGN. It's a different flavor for me. But it's interesting now if you look at it. I mean, I don't even know when the last Pat the NES Punk episode was released. Honestly, he has slowed it to a crawl as well.
Yeah, he's probably doing like 2 to 3 like review episodes a year. I think the last one he did may have been the Batman and Superman episode, or it was Wolverine, I think, for NES.
Yeah, it was something like that. And the ones he does are not bad. But again, I watch him and I look back at what he was doing before, and I think it was, it's definitely suffering, and I feel as though he has to kind of pigeonhole time in throughout the year to put out these NES Punks for legacy purposes, I suppose. But again, you look at another, and this I think James and Pat have done it pretty well in the points that they knew that there was. You always got to know this, and if you don't know this, you're crazy. Okay. You're always going to have an expiration date on a certain style or a certain show, or even just a certain mindset of how long you can keep doing stuff. And if you're not always thinking ahead, you end up being trapped to where you wake up one day and your material is no longer valid, or you no longer believe in it, and you have no direction. It's kind of like bands who just keep putting out the same record year after year after year. I mean, you might get away with it for like 5 or 10 years, but after 10 years, if you've never evolved as a player and you never changed your musical influences or your taste or how you produce your records, you're just going to be left behind because everyone else has kind of moved on and adopted new technologies or new things. Say what you will about, I'll use Metallica as a good example. Say what you will about, there's very clearly defined times where you can see their influences change and the music change. So you got the original, which was possible thrash, that speed metal-esque with Kill 'Em All. Then you move into the next 2 and 3, where it's more like classic metal, what you would say. And then you move into Black, which was more of the modern 90s. And then you talk about Load and Reload, where you're moving into, like, I guess what would be like radio-type metal. And then you move in past there, and then now they're going back kind of to the roots, but it's not even to the roots. It's more of like what would you be heavy metal, and there's different, and with emblems of speed metal and old stuff like that. So they're always constantly shifting around. Megadeth did that. I think a lot of the good bands have always kind of continued to do that. And it's really cool to see, like, Pat, like, now, like, most people might even know, if you went over to Pat's channel, that he even did a thing called Pat the NES Punk. I mean, he has basically turned that channel into his place to dump his podcast stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And, love him or hate him, or you think Ian's great, you don't think Ian's great, you think you hate Pat, whatever. It's a great series. He does a really good job in producing that. I think some of his opinions are a little out there, but
yeah,
I think in the grand scheme of things, he's interesting enough and found Ian to where they work so well together that, I mean, that show really works and it's become like a staple, I think. And that's great for him. I mean, that's something, that kind of format could take you well into 10, 20, 30 years. Much easier than you could continue to try to do Pat the NES Punk videos. So, I mean, he's totally turned that around. And, of course, he's always been smart, too. He did Flea Market Madness, which at this point has pretty much almost run its course because of the way the, like, flea markets and finding deals and stuff is almost pretty much... It's dead. But, I mean, he rode that until it was a natural end. Pat the NES Punk is pretty much dead. Now he's doing the talk show. I mean, he's another one who did really good. And continues, I think, to make some sort of a living off of it. So I really think that was a genius move on his end. But yeah, it's really interesting to start to see a lot. And those are just two big examples. I think another one, and I'll give it to Wes to see if he knows any. You said it earlier. What's his name? Chris B.
Chris Bores.
Chris Bores. Love him or hate him, he was obviously talked about it. He did kind of jump onto the wagon and rip off AVGN to some degree. He had his own style. He had his own effects and stuff. So you can't totally take it like he just totally ripped off James. But there's a lot of controversy on that too, which we won't go into. But yeah, he is another guy who got pretty famous early on, but identified that at some point, his show, he was not going to get any bigger than what he was, and everyone was starting to jump on the bandwagon. So he was starting to get lost with all the rest of them. So he was smart enough early on to start to move his channel into another direction entirely. So now if you go to his channel, I don't even know if he does, I still think I'm subscribed to it. I don't even know if he does episodes of his stuff. And if he does, it's very, 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 very pulled back, even less than AVGN.
I mean, he's completely flip-flopped his channel. It's totally different now. The other day I was looking through my subscriptions, and I'm like, who the hell is this? CB Network.
Yep.
CB and I'm Network. Like, what the fuck is this? And then I saw this ghost hunting. He's doing this ghost hunting stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't care about that kind of thing, like...
Yeah.
And...
Exactly. I mean, you may not care about it, or I'm not a big fan of it either, but I mean, he has turned it in. He's written a book. He does a lot of research on ghost type stuff. There's other things he's interested in. He's fairly smoothly. It took him a year or two for him to transition, but he's now transitioned into a totally different channel. But at least it's still alive, and it's a different demographic, but at least it's still there. He could have just shut it down. A lot of people just do that. So yeah, I mean, those are my three main examples. There's some other little ones that I guess I could touch on, and other examples of people who I think need to start making this move sooner rather than later. But I don't know. What do you have any other than those three? Is there any that come to mind that you know of, but maybe who didn't make the move and just disappeared, and ones who have made the move and was not successful, or should maybe make the move soon? You think? Expiration dates coming up or whatever.
I don't know. I mean, some of my favorite... I mean, I'll be honest with you. The past year, I've stopped watching a lot of the bigger YouTubers. I now stick to the smaller ones. I just like the smaller YouTuber stuff better. It's just more genuine. Shit. So I can't really think off of the top of my head. I know that some of them that I watch, though, let's say GameSack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their formula is pretty much... Well, it's changed a bit, but it's still... You can pretty much predict what you're going to get with a GameSack episode.
Mm-hmm.
like when they first started out, they had the whole gimmick where it was Nintendo versus Sega, and they were always arguing about it. And then they kind of abandoned that gimmick. I mean, they still kid around with each other, but they don't focus on that so much anymore. Which I think was smart, because that they would have, rode that into the ground. Some might argue that their show's getting stale. Like, I still find it entertaining. I still find it fresh because of the games that they choose to cover. I mean, they know their shit, So I don't think that's a good example. I think they still got a lot left in the tank.
Well, let me stop you right there. I'll give you a little time to think on there. I'm going to talk about GameSack, and I'm going to be on the opposite side of the fence here.
Okay.
GameSack, and I'm going to have to give a shout out to both of them. I know they're up there in the they don't live up there where Wes is, but they kind of live closer to that area. Jay Dubious and them, I believe they're in Colorado, unless I'm totally wrong.
They are in Colorado.
Yeah, so they're up there in that Virginia area. Good guys. I've heard anything bad about them personally. And I have to give them a shout out for my perspective. They found my Rex Banner project YouTube a long time ago and pimped it and got me tons of views, and were always very nice dropping by and leaving comments and whatnot. So I have to give it to them. But my thing with it, I was a really big GameSack fan, and my thing with GameSack is now I honestly can say the last 15 or so episodes, and maybe even more, maybe 20 that I've seen them put out, I have not watched. I see them on my feed all the time. I don't click them. And it's a really weird turnaround for me, because I can remember when I found GameSack, I wasn't an early adopter, but they were maybe like 30 or 40 in. And I found, was like, wow, this is a great series. The opening, the way the two guys work together, the way they do, certain little like storyline bits at the end of their videos or at the beginning of the videos. I thought it was great. So I'd watch the fuck out of it, man. I'd just sit there and put them on, repeat and just watch them. But honestly, it's weird. I really can't bring myself to watch it anymore. And I've kind of sat there a couple times and thought about it. Like, why did I love this channel so much? And why do I don't even give them the time of day when a new episode's coming out? And to me, I think it boils down to, and this, I think I've said this to a lot of YouTubers, and I know some of them think I'm crazy, some of them think I'm right, and I don't even know what's the right way to do it is. But the fact that they're pretty much set your watch when you know a GameSack episode is going to come out. They've been pretty consistent over the years and on a good release schedule, and that's part of a good show. But at the same point, when you do a show like that, and like Wes was saying, there's only so many times you can run a bit like I like Sega, you like this, before it gets stale, right? There's a shelf life on everything. And same thing with just the material. When you're reviewing something like retro games, there's only so many there's only a certain amount of pool that you have. And once you exhaust that pool, you either have to go out and do new games or try to like get like the very obscure stuff, like you start hitting imports or demos or ROM hacks, or maybe you hit foreign markets or European only market. You gotta dig deep for this other shit. And I think and it's weird because you want to get noticed, you want to make sure people are coming to your show, and the thing they'll tell you is you want to have consistency and you want to have a reasonably fast release schedule. But on doing that, you basically cook all your material as fast as you can, because when you're sitting there going, hey, I've got 1,000 like Wes has got 1,500 subs. I got 1,500 subs. I've got an audience. I've caught them. I've got their attention. I want to move to the next level. The next level for Wes is 10,000. The next level after that's 100, and then you're hitting 500,000 and then 1 million. Okay, so he's no longer what one would could say in risk of dying off or being a failure, because I think once you hit 1,000, you've got something going. You didn't just get that by accident, unless you're putting up titty videos or clickbait videos. You know what I mean? So he's got something. People want to see him. You just don't stumble into 1,500 subs. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen. So he's got something, but at the same time, it's like, now I got him, but I got to keep putting shit out so that they'll keep watching, and then maybe they'll like it, and then they'll do a like or a share, and then I'll get more other people. You know what I mean? So, and so the ball keeps rolling. So you don't want to let up. You almost your first instinct is almost do more, and then you want to hit the big shit. Maybe I'm gonna do this big topic, or I'm gonna do this big topic. But the thing is that I see like a lot of YouTubers like putting out this great material, and they blow it, and then they got nothing else left in the tank. And I think that's the way I feel about GameSack is that because they have to dig deep now for these obscure topics because they've pretty much run out of stuff almost to talk about at some point. I think it hurts their channel for me, and I think it still is going to hurt them in the long run. I mean, they're another one I think that's really in danger of. They need to find something else. And I'm not saying that GameSack the show needs to stop. I just think they need something else in place of it so that they can pump the brakes just a bit on GameSack. Because at the pace that they're going, I don't know how much more they can do before they're going to in danger of literally running out of stuff. And running out of stuff that people care about. Like, I'm not saying that is it cool to talk about ROM hacks? Yes, but that's a tough sell. It really is a tough sell. And I think they need to just, you got to have, I think to be successful on YouTube, you need 2 or 3 good shows that you can bounce off of so that you never burn one out completely and you always have something to transition to. And the problem with GameSack is they don't. I think at one point they were doing like they started to do some sort of like repair type series, or do you know what I'm talking about, or am I totally
yeah
I think where he was like, they were showing like how to do this, how to do easy repairs on this or whatever, because they're knowledgeable about that too. And I think that only lasted a few episodes and then it stopped. But the same thing, that's all GameSack has going right now is just that. And maybe they don't have enough time, maybe they don't, I mean, because GameSack takes a lot of time for production. That is a well-produced show. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That takes multiple hours. But I think they're getting to that point where if it was me and I was in GameSack, I would be like, it's time. We need to come up with our next show and start splitting time, maybe do 25-75, so that we can try to see if we can get this built up so we're not always leaning hard on GameSack. Because I really think they're getting close to being in danger of running out of material that's going to kind of plateau them. And I think, like I said, for real gamers like me and Wes and Derek and them, that we're still finding interest in this stuff. But I think for the average subscriber coming on and you start talking about ROM hacks and stuff, they're like, they're not even there. They talking about foreign games to them might be Greek. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So that's my take on it, though. I know he just said he didn't think so, but I mean, I think honestly that's what I believe on it.
I don't know. I think they're really creative about the types of episodes they do. And every now and then they do something a little different. They'll do a versus episode where they'll take 2 games from different systems that are kind of similar and do, just as an example, Shinobi versus Ninja Gaiden. You know, they do stuff like that. Sega Master System versus NES, and I don't know. I think that's a pretty good idea when they do stuff like that, and it changes it up a bit. I mean, I do agree with what you're saying to a point, but at the same time, they still keep getting more and more viewers. They're getting people that are just discovering them, and they have a huge back catalog to gorge on. And people that haven't been watching them, haven't seen all their episodes, are going to come and watch their new episodes, all these new subscribers. Mm-hmm. So, in a way, they also have a formula that maybe they shouldn't mess with it.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I don't think they should change the format. I think they should add something, a totally different show that can stand on its own, that doesn't affect the main entity. That way they don't piss off the legacy people, and if this thing flops, they can just write it off as it was an experiment. You know what I mean?
And I don't know. Honestly, I think we will see more stuff like that from them, to be honest with you. So I don't know. I think they'll go that route.
Maybe. I hope so. I mean, because I don't want to see them go away. But, you know, and the thing with it is, there's no really right or wrong answer on any of this. It's no different than two economists coming up here trying to tell you that now is the time to buy gold or now is the time to invest in currency. You know what I mean? It's all speculation. We're going off of trends that we've seen in the past, and our own data supports this type of, this is what I would do if I were them. So there's definitely no wrong or right answer. The only thing that will ever prove this is time, and by the time time proves it, then it might be too late, or maybe they made the right move. It's a tough thing to go in, but that's a good. I think that's a good example. Game Sack of a channel who's got to make that decision soon. Do we stay with what we're doing, or do we try to, put a little bit of time into what our next 10 years is like? Or
all right. Well, here's a question for you. What do you think about a channel like the Game Chasers, where the whole premise of their show was going out and finding games and finding deals?
Mm-hmm.
Now, 5 years later, they have almost every freaking game that they want, and they're not really finding the deals anymore because of the whole retro collecting craze, the whole trend.
Good point. I was going to bring it up, but I'm glad you brought it up, so it gives a little diversity. Here's another good one. And I'll give you some backstory on me. My biggest YouTubing time, was probably like 3-4 years ago. And that means not me as a producer, but me as a watcher, a viewer, I guess. So, and when I go back to those times, I can remember them vividly because it was almost like discovering like a secret club or an island of misfit toys. You know what I mean? It was weird. There was a plethora of shit that I totally missed out on, and I could just gorge myself on viewing multiple people. So you got AVGM, Pat the NES Punk, Game Chasers, Game Sack, Michael B. the Game Genie, and there was another guy who doesn't do videos anymore. And so all those guys. Oh, and not Game Grumps, because I miss Game Grumps. JonTron. So all those guys were kind of like running. Some of them were starting, but had a big following. Some of them were kind of in their middles. You know what I mean? And so I was able to just go around and get them all. Game Chasers was probably close to one of my favorites. And like he said, what happened with Flea Market Madness, the first 2 seasons were really great watching because the deals were still out there. The stores were mispricing stuff. They could go in to these unknown places and find really good deals on games and made for great TV, so to speak. Now, you fast forward to now, and I still watch the Game Chasers. They don't put out as much as they used to for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But now you watch their episodes, you'll be lucky in maybe a group of 10 that they'll show you something that's huge, like a find. You may see something, they may visit someone who has something really rare, so you get to see it. But that doesn't necessarily mean they get to buy it or they get it for a low price or anything like that. So, so the dynamic has changed. And like he was saying, it's harder to find those type of games now without people pricing them accordingly. And then what's the point? I mean, I could buy a Bubble Bath Babes for $1,200 or a Little Samson for $800. You know what I mean? That's not that hard. You want to finding them for $100 or $20 or a $5 bin somewhere. That's the tough search. But those are almost non-existent anymore. So now they're interesting in that whether they knew it or not, and I think to some degree they planned it. The first two or three seasons was really about the games. You go back and watch it. The personalities of Jay, the Dongo, and Billy kind of support it more of we're more here. They're taking us on the journey, and their personalities are coming through, but they're not really strong. As we started seeing seasons 3, 4, 5, and I'm not even sure what they're up to now, coming out, they've really leaned more and put a lot more of themselves out there. Yeah. And so now you watch, and it's weird because in the beginning you watch the first 2 seasons, there was always kind of a back and forth, kind of butting heads between Jay and Billy. Now it's almost like more in the forefront. So it's known that Billy's just a fucking lazy, always late, laissez-faire type of an asshole type of a guy, and almost looks like it now. Whereas in the first scenes he was clean cut. You know what I mean? Had short hair. Seemed like he was, now he looks like, he's got long hair. He's scruffy looking. Looks like he smells. You know what I mean? He's a typical Atlanta. And now Jay has a different persona. Jay's more like the responsible father type of an uncle type of a scenario. He seems to, knows he's got to take care of business, but he knows how to let back and have a few beers and be one of the guys. Mm-hmm. But that dynamic is now clearly in the forefront. So that's that little bit of a conflict between them. Gives you a little bit something more to watch, even though when you tune in, you're probably not going to see them getting an Action 52 or a Samson or a Flintstones like they were getting in the first couple seasons. So I'm not really sure if they planned that. Maybe they just got really lucky with it. And they're smart enough to have brought in some other characters, so to speak, to keep things fresh. The Alpha Omega Sin appears in a lot of the videos. Eric, 8-Bit Eric, which doesn't appear in too many, but they still use him when needed.
But he's been there since the beginning, though.
He has, but they've been leaning towards more other friends that are coming in. I know Pat was kind of a staple in the first couple seasons, but he's no longer in there anymore. I mean, he does, but he's not. You see him occasionally, but he doesn't play a big part. So they're pretty smart, and I think it's becoming more of like a reality show type of a scenario where you're following these guys around.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's more about the guys rather than
it's more about the camaraderie between these different characters and different YouTubers. I think people, one of the attractions to it now and what they've kind of exploited is that people like to see these other YouTubers like Wood and Alpha, but then it's a completely different dynamic when you bring them all together and watch how they interact with each other. And I think people like to see that, it's just that crossover type thing. And I'll admit it, I enjoy watching that too. Like, I don't necessarily like some of the other guys that, I don't watch their channels or anything, but I don't mind it when they're on the Game Chasers show, when watching them interact with each other. In fact, those are probably some of my favorite episodes. But yeah, I mean, they got to do something different now. Like that one episode where they visited the bridge where Dodongo lived.
Yes, I'm glad. See, that's why I like having Wes. I was actually going to bring that up, but I was like, we'll see. Maybe Wes will bring it up because that's a good example. Go ahead.
But yeah, like, I don't know, where they go visit the bridge where he used to sleep under, and Dodongo's obviously one woman, a stranger at one of the flea markets, basically confronts him about his alcoholism because it's like, I don't know, something like 9 a.m. or something, and he's drinking a 40 out there. He's already drinking, and it's obvious that he has a drinking problem, and the other guys are all laughing about it and everything, and it's just like, I'm watching it, I'm like, man, that's not funny, dude. He's got a problem. And, then he talks about how he was homeless. Like, I think he says something like it was 10 years in the past that he used to sleep under a bridge and used to like sleep in the woods. And so they go and visit this bridge. He hadn't been there since he used to live there, and it just, like, I don't know, brought back all these emotions and everything, and he got all emotional about it. And it was, I don't know, like, I mean, I guess it's cool that he put himself out there for everyone to see, but it, like, really worked. And it was a really good episode. And then if you look at the comments on that episode, like, people were really just, like, they really gravitated towards Dodongo. And I guess, like, a lot of people were probably even, like, sharing their own experiences, their own hard times that they went through with drugs and alcohol. And I guess it put a lot more human element to it. And that whole episode right there, like, it wasn't even about, you forgot about the games. You forgot that they were, game chasers, and it was pretty brilliant. I don't know, it was, they did a really good job with that episode.
Yes, they did.
And yeah, really. And Jay wasn't even in that episode.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it just shows you that how good of a producer or director you want to call him Billy really is. He knows how
Yeah.
to because not
Hmm.
only just the story. You could have put him in front of a green screen and he could have told that story and people would have got a reaction. But if you look at the way the shots were done and
Hmm.
even just some of you would almost think they were somewhat staged, but I don't really think they were to some degree. I mean, they know, hey, I'm going to run in front of you and get some shots of you coming, but
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna ham it up or anything like that. But yeah, just he knows how to produce that show. He knows how to produce any type of show, I would imagine. And that was a great example of a true moment that kind of happened, and he was there to catch it. And once you got it in film, you can that's gold like that because you won't get a lot of moments like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, and that's something I think they can work towards. I mean, you can't do that every episode, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was a really good episode, and like I said, I could see that happening more and more. And the game chasers are evolving too. They know that their ability. I know they've probably known it for a while. Their ability to continually get this subscriber base and whatnot just off of those videos, is not sustainable. Which is, if you see now, they're very successful running these conventions. They're doing 2 a year,
Oh
I
yeah.
believe. They're making quite a bit of money every year. It's getting bigger and bigger. That's a really good return on your on like an investment, so to speak. And once you do a couple, then it's just a matter of just continuing it because usually they get bigger and bigger. Uh, and their show, Game Chasers still goes, but more people go there for the other stuff. They joined a network with GameSack and Alpha Omega Sin, or started their own semi network, and 8-Bit Eric.
Yeah.
So that's kind of giving them some a little more viewership type thing on there. So I think they're making the right moves as well. And it's funny. I think Sam, I don't know if you're still in here. You were asking what the payouts were at that sub level. No one, and I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe some of them like PewDiePie and stuff. But even then, I don't think to the degree that you would think so. No one ever gets rich off of, or the majority of the money that they can make off of the like music or their TV shows or any sort of other medium that they have. Metallica did not. Metallica, don't be wrong. Metallica makes money when they release an album, but they don't get the bulk of their money by selling a certain like 1 million or 2 million or 3 million albums. That's not where they're getting their money from. That's not where they can make the most money. As you sell 1 million albums, yeah, you're going to get a certain amount of money per record. But what you're getting past then, and once you can make more of it, that's what you really make the money with. Where you go, on tour, you can make
Yeah.
a shit ton of money on tour. And not only just tour, you look at the other stuff. Because the record companies are going to get their own, just like YouTube. YouTube's going to take a lot of money from you because they're producing and storing and doing the bandwidth and all that stuff. You know what I mean? You're going to get a little piece of it, but they're going to get the big piece. But Metallica and just any bands know they go to a city. Not only are they going to sell tickets, and so they're going to make money, they can sell merchandise. They can sell T-shirts, and that's a high-end profit. They can any other weird shit like that. Personal appearances, they can sell stuff if they want to go out and sign their records and do shit like that. Get on radio stuff. I mean, and maybe get in the movies or different other big parts. There's a lot more money to be had than just selling albums. I don't think very few musicians have ever made a shit ton of money just by selling their music. They're always making it
Yeah.
somewhere else.
I read somewhere that like there's some artists out there that make around like, and they average like a cent off of each album sold. It's just like where like the record company's making more money off of them than they are. And yeah, they gotta earn all their money by selling merchandise and touring. And that's why a lot of these bands will tour for like 2 or 3 years straight, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yep, it's definitely, and just same thing with YouTube. And again, there are some guys who may make a good chunk of change, but you can make so much more on the other stuff. You know what I mean? That just even not even a big YouTuber, just getting to the point where like a convention like what the Game Chasers put on, like Norm the Historian, a game historian. He's not a big YouTuber. He's not got 1 million subs. I'm not sure what number he is at.
He's pretty big, dude.
Was it like 200, 300, right? He's not like 500,000 though, is he? He's like at 100 or 200, I thought.
Yeah, like I don't think he's at 500,000, but man,
He's got a good bit, but I'm just saying he's not like he's not pulling in big numbers. I mean, he's pulling in decent numbers. But my point is, like, he's getting big enough to where people are inviting him to conventions. No, they're like, hey, we'll give you a panel. Come out. We'll give you a table. We'll give you a free hotel room.
Yeah.
And then when you're out here, no, they have things like Pat the NS Punker. Then they sell books and shit, and they sell that shit or sell their DVDs. That's where they're getting. That's where they're getting their real money. They're not
exactly.
sitting. They're not sitting at home waiting on that YouTube check so they can get rich. You're out there leveraging what you can to get all this shit to make the real money. Any real YouTuber, I think, would tell you that. If any other one that sits back on the laws, it just is nuts. Just like James. I mean, was he making good money off AVGN? Yeah, but he was able to brand Cinemassacre, and now he's got his own website, and he's getting his own revenue right off of that. He's doing movie reviews and other shit like that, selling the Cinemassacre T-shirts, selling the DVDs, selling the Blu-rays. I mean, that's really where the money, the real money, goes into your pocket. You know, I mean, the cost of making a DVD is super cheap, and if you own the material and you do it once, and all you gotta do is keep making copies of it. I mean, I'd love to know how many copies of season 1 he sold. As many years as it's been been for sale. I'd love to know, because I'm sure, you know, he probably put X amount of hours, maybe like 100 hours, let's say, into doing, probably not even that much, 100 hours of work into making that DVD, and now it's forever already ready with the masters, and all he's got to do is order more. Probably to produce that DVD may have been maybe like $4 or $5 a piece, F that. And he can sell them for, you know, $20, even put it on sale for $10 and still make a nice profit.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, that's just, and it's been selling forever. And as new people come in, they go, "Hey, I want to see the originals. Oh, let me buy that for the behind the scenes shit." They're like, $10, that's a deal. You know, he's already made his money back for costs and all that shit. And that's incredible. That's the real. Again, that's where the real money comes in for shit like that, especially when you own your own material. So, I don't know. That, again, back to what you were saying, Sam. That's really, no one waits for the YouTube money. No one fucking waits for YouTube money. No. I mean, I don't even know. What have you made overall in your YouTube career? I'm sure it's not much. Just for the purpose,
how much I've made? Shit. I'm almost to $400.
$400. Yeah. How many views do you think overall? Lifetime views?
How many lifetime views?
Yeah.
I don't know, about 260,000.
All right. Yeah, that's not a terrific return on investment. Depends on how you look at it, but yeah, that's a lot of views.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, I mean,
and then there's variables with YouTube for all of a sudden, like this past month, my views have gone down almost. My views, my revenue, everything has gone down by like 50%. This happened a few months ago, where out of just nowhere, my views and revenue, everything just dropped at like 40%. But then it went back to normal out of nowhere too. After this lasted about 2 months, then it went back to normal, and then I started getting even more views. And just about a month ago, boom! It's just like my graph in analytics. It's like a cliff. It goes up and then boom, drops. And then there's a big like bowl. It starts coming back up for a little bit, and then boom, drops just like a cliff, dude. And that's stuff that I have no control over. And there's that website Social Blade, right, where you can compare YouTube channels and you can see other people's numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
I compared my numbers with other YouTubers, and basically they were all experiencing the same highs and lows, which none of us have control over. And you just can't depend on it. And then with rules like, I guess with glitches with restricted mode, and that could be hurting, because a lot of my videos show up they get hidden on restricted mode. And there was a thing where like a glitch or a bug where a lot of people's accounts were being set to restricted mode automatically. So if they search for your video, or normally where your video would pop up, it's not going to pop up because they're in restricted mode, and they don't know any better. They don't know they're in restricted mode. It's down at the very bottom where it tells you if you're in restricted mode. And most people who watch YouTube probably don't even know that feature exists, that you could turn it on and off. So a lot of videos are going to be hidden, and that could be why we've seen a lot of drops in views and revenue. And that's just something that's completely out of our control. So you can still make all the videos you want, but you just can't rely on the views. Yeah, you got to. That's why a lot of these guys do the Patreon, and like you said with the merchandise. I mean, you gotta. That's how you're gonna make money off of this stuff, really. YouTube's basically just giving you the platform to get your stuff out there, but you got to find other means to really rake that cash in.
Yeah, definitely. And the fame of YouTube can be very fickle. You don't want to wait too long. You want to have good timing on all this shit. You just can't sit back and not as much as it sucks to sit there. And I know some of us are like this, some of them are not. Depends on the person. As much as it says, I get anxious, or I get, I can't go to some place that has a lot of people like a convention. I'll just get too nervous and shit myself or have a panic attack, right? And that happens. There are people like that, right?
Yeah.
But at some point you're going to have to, because as your channel gets bigger, that's the next logical step, is to get your face in front of people, especially when you have for instance, the LGN Defender is a good example, and I'm going to pick on Matt just because I know Matt. Matt's got a lot of viewers. I think he's above 10,000. I'm not exactly sure where.
He is.
I haven't followed. He may be at 20. I don't know, but he's a pretty nice sized YouTuber. I'm fairly certain that we're not talking like MagFest or anything, but I'm fairly certain that if he put some feelers out to a few people who run conventions, like smaller ones or whatnot, that said, hey, I'm interested in coming out to a convention if someone wants to offer me a panel, that somebody would pick him up and he would have his own panel somewhere. Now, whether or not he sits in front of 20 people or 1,000 people, I don't know, but they would be willing to give him a block of time to sit there and put him on a bill, you know what I mean, to try to attract people to come to a convention, right? I think his name carries that much weight. But as you look at it, Matt has never done that, ever. I've talked to him about it before. He's never given me a clear answer. I think, I'm not sure if it's something he's interested in. Maybe he just can't handle it, whatever. But I've always told him, I said, you're missing a big opportunity. Do you know what I mean? You've created a great brand, the LGN Defender, and Innocent Until Proven Guilty. You got some good shows, but you're not really selling merch. You're not out there hustling on the streets at conventions, so to speak. You're not. Had he done that, I think he could start seeing some real money. And I'm not saying like thousands and thousands of dollars, but like real money compared to what he's getting paid through YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I think having some sort of connection with your fans is huge. When people see that you're relatable, they relate to you in some way, they see that you're a human being, you're not just a character on a screen, I think people are attracted to that more. And he would probably, man, if he went to like one of those conventions, did a panel or something, he would probably come home to find that he has like hundreds of new subscribers, and maybe there would even be people who casually watched his show, but if they saw him, maybe talk to him for 2 minutes at a table, shook some hands, took some pictures, these people would probably be a lot more inclined to watch his show more regularly after seeing that, hey, like this guy's a lot like me, like we could be buddies. Like, this is the type of guy I would hang out with. Not only that they would see the human side of you, but they would also see that you're into more than just video games,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. Matt's got a wealth of information and other things that he loves other than video games.
Exactly.
But you would never know it because he only ever usually talks about video games 99% of the time.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's it. The other thing too is, and this goes back to the old, it's counter. Yeah, I don't know. That's again, it's one of those growing pains of YouTube. But the way you get a lot of other subs and the way you get a lot of pushes is by meeting other producers. So, I could sit here all day long, and luckily I've been able to have one-on-one conversations with Wes, one-on-one conversations with the LGN Defender, one-on-one conversation with Jimmy Hoppa. What I would consider, for me, are big people in the YouTube community. So I've been able to talk to them. Some of them I actually been able to hang out with in person. But when you can meet somebody, shake their hand, get a feel on how they are, that's totally different than someone like your buddy or somebody sending you a link said, "Hey, check this channel out. I think you would like it." Because you never know, that guy could be like totally nuts and you may not want to be associated with him. But when you can press the flesh, maybe have a beer with him, maybe have a 20-minute conversation, and assuming it goes well, that might be something that somebody bigger than you goes, "Hey, this guy's really cool, man. He made an impression on me. I'm going to do a shout out for him, or I'm going to work and do a collab with him." And that's the kind of stuff that really takes you to the next level too, because you may never, Wes may never be able to, assuming he never met him, may never be able to catch the attention of Norm the gaming historian. He might be able to send him emails and make comments in every one of his videos, but because of how many people try to get a hold of that guy, he may get lost in the background. But if he met him at a convention, just casually, not like run up to him like a super fan, you know what I mean? And started a good conversation, or I don't know, had something in common with her, talked or even sat on a panel with him, and just had that few minutes where you could talk person to person. And you might make that connection, and then that guy's like, "Hey, this guy's really good." Do you know what I mean? This guy, I like this West guy. He's got a smaller channel. I'm gonna let my audience go on to him. Do you know what I mean? And that is a huge thing. You cannot. At some point, it's hard to get a hold of these big guys because they get this influx of shit all day long. But if you can get that, and really at conventions, that's one of the best ways, because when you're when you're on the bill, you get that backstage privilege. You know what I mean? You kind of get in that back waiting room. So whereas like everyone's trying to get James Rolfe at conventions, right? And he's got people around him, and you may never get a chance to talk to him. If you're on even just on the lowest end of that bill, you may have that backstage pass, so to speak, where you might run into him in the hall and say, "Hey, man, I just want to come up and say I really like your work." And, you have that access that no one else would be, that people would die to have. And you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to click with, and you never know what they're going to do to further your career. And that's gold. You can't, there's no other way that you can reproduce that. And
for sure.
Yeah, that goes back to with the same kind of thing with actors. Okay, there's very few actors who are so good that they were able to make it in eccentric. They were able to make it being a wallflower or being a recluse. There are a few who are just so good that like people know very little about him. They don't go to premieres. They don't go to events. They don't do these things. They're just really, really good, and they come out, do their thing. You're like, wow, he's so good, but he's so mysterious. We never talk to him. But the majority of people in Hollywood, it's all about who you know, who you're introduced to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who you shared a room with when you were starving actors. You know what I mean? Who, what people you fucked, so to speak. You know what I mean? And what, shit like that. That's the kind of, you never know. And that's the shit, that one in could make all the difference for you. All the difference. And it's the same thing with YouTube. And so you always got to be willing to do that. And that's the thing with YouTube. It's so fucking exhausting. If you want to have a career in this shit, you got to be willing to prostitute yourself at everything. And not only just making videos. It's not enough that you sit at home making videos. You got to go out to the conventions. You got to be willing to get on and do podcast interviews. You got to be willing to do written interviews. You got to be willing to do collabs. You know what I mean? You got to be whatever comes your way. You got to be willing to do almost everything you can. And then again, that leads to everything else. Sam, what I'm trying to read with Sam Rowe here. Been on the hunger strike since man stopped hoarding PC. He's going to eat again. Probably not, man. That sounds like you're going to be hungry for a while. I don't know what relevance that had, but that's fine. I don't play Madden. Did you play Madden? You don't look like a Madden guy to me, do you?
Yeah,
exactly. Fuck Madden, man. Fuck Madden.
I haven't played Madden in 5 years, 6 years maybe.
Yeah. So, but anyways, that's the. That was my first thing I wanted to go over with and we could go on a lot longer with YouTubers and stuff like that. But it's interesting. I really love looking at the way this community is growing and stopping, and how the ads and the payoffs, and some people they say YouTube is dying, their YouTube just is still going strong, or these older guys who have been doing it 3 or 4 years are starting to fall off or disappear, and then we got a new crop of people, and how cheap it is to be a producer now, where it was like even 5 or 6 years ago, you may have had to make an investment of X amount of dollars to get good camera equipment, but now the technology's cheaper, and now you can get free programs that will do green screen, where before it was like really hard to do green screen, and I mean we're just getting into a whole nother thing within such a short period of time. It's amazing. But yeah, long and short of it, AVGN, I love you. Please stop. I think it's time. I love you. I have all your DVDs back behind me on there, and I've probably bought a few of them a few times because they've gotten scratched. But I think, yeah, it's in the past. It was great. It was terrific. Let's not do this anymore. And for those of you who are in danger of becoming stale, you better come up with a plan, because I think at some point you're all going to run into this. Even Wes will be at some point will be running into danger of having this. It'll be as Wes will probably tell you, it'll be a good problem to have. If he stays around long enough and continues to grow to where he realizes he has to make some sort of bold move, that's not necessarily a bad thing to have. It happen a problem.
Yeah, but I don't know, dude. I'm always coming up with new ideas and different stuff. I get bored easily doing the same old thing. Like I got to change it up constantly, man. So I'll always be changing things up and just trying new stuff always.
Yep. You got to. You definitely have to. Otherwise, you will fall behind. So let me look at the other ones. I think you had gotten into this top 3, top 10 thing a while back. Do you follow Michael B, the Game Genie at all?
I mean, okay. Before I joined Multitapped, I mean, I had seen some of his videos, but to be honest with you, they were a little too PG for me. Like he was too much of a nice guy, and I also felt that he put on an act where he acted like he was really bad at games. And like I remember his Mega Man 2 video. I haven't seen it in probably 2 years, so I'm going off of memory here. But I remember him doing something like saying that he could never beat it as a kid, and then he had like a montage of him playing it, and he's like, "I finally beat it." I'm like, "Bullshit, dude!" Like a blind kid could beat Mega Man 2. I can beat Mega Man 2 shit-faced drunk. I mean, I didn't buy it for a second, and I was just like, I don't know. So I really stopped. I really didn't watch any more of his stuff. But then when I joined Multitapped and he was a member or whatever, like I didn't say anything. Like I thought his videos were kind of cheesy or whatever. But as a person, he's a really cool guy, and I've actually watched a few of his live streams, and they were fun to watch. Mm-hmm. It was fun to engage with him and engage with his audience. But yeah, that's my extent. I just recently subscribed to him, just like not even 2 months ago.
Okay. But you've seen some of his stuff. Hey, let me ask you this: have you seen I think it was the last video that he just put out, where he it was like a semi-update video, where he talked about where he's been and where his future of his channel is going?
I did not know.
Okay, so just the cliff notes are very interesting. And this goes back to the whole, we all grow up, life changes, and we can't keep doing the same show. Again, when I started doing this 3 or 4 years ago, when I was big into watching it, a viewer before I was a producer, Michael B. the Game Genie was huge for me. And I think it's really interesting. He's defied a lot of things that people said, I think, early on, that this guy is going to plateau. This guy's not going to go anywhere because he's not doing anything super crazy original. And he's not. And Michael B's never claimed to. But like Wes just said, and this is a good example for a lot of people, he has such a genuine type of attitude about life and a genuine person that it comes through the screen. You know what I mean? Like when you watch him, he's just that type of guy. And because of that, it has really driven his subscriber base. So I remember when I was with him, I first met him or whatever, or started watching him, he was like at 4,000 or 5,000. You know, now he's like at 15, and he just keeps getting more and more and more and more and more. Yeah, it's amazing. And then now, even with the last couple of years of him taking a huge break, he still gets more. So, and that just shows you, because people do it because he's a real genuine guy. It's not all about all the flash and all the camera tricks and all that other bullshit that some people need or think they need to get into that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is, for the last year and a half, he has been pretty much absent. Almost, I thought at some point closed his channel down, and he told us very clearly. He came through and he said, "Yeah, I'm having a kid. His wife graduated from law school and moved back home with him. So obviously those are big life-changing things. Having a kid, having your wife move back, he was trying to move into a new house, but we didn't hear from him." And it's almost like he put everything in a hole, and he was gone for a long time. Didn't lose a lot of subs. Came back. He's kind of come back within the last month and a half to somewhat of a regular full force coming at you. But this last video, and it was kind of weird. Like, he never really mentioned where he was and why he was coming back now or whatever. But this last video was so interesting. And it was, some people say that maybe he didn't believe it, but I think it's totally true.
Is that the Q&A video that he just released?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been meaning to watch it, but I just haven't, because I know it's like half an hour long. Yeah. And I got to make the time to watch it. But yeah, okay.
So he talked about one thing. He used to have a really great series that was getting a lot of traction, where he was trying to the complete NES collection.
I would watch that.
Yeah, it's where he was trying to get all the games, all the NES games, and talking about doing trades and this. And obviously, as it got closer to the end, it was harder because the games get more expensive, more rare. You know what I mean? So, but it was really a great thing to watch, even though there wasn't a lot. It wasn't like he was filming these interactions. He was just talking about them after the fact. It was almost like a pickup video, but more produced, like where he had little cutscenes from the videos and play footage and stuff. So it's really well done. But that kind of stopped abruptly when he left too, and he was talking about it. He was like, "Yeah, you're no longer going to see me do the complete NES collection," which like blew my mind, first of all, and it was great because he said he went into, at least he said something about it. Didn't just say like, "Oh yeah, that was a show he did a year ago, but you're never going to see any more episodes, I suppose." And he kind of talked about, I had my wife and my kid and this and moving, and it took me a long time to get back into it, but now I plan to do some more and blah, blah, blah. But really interesting revelations here. And maybe this is not the most interesting topic, but I think it's interesting. He said essentially that there was another collector in his general area, and I don't know what that means, maybe 100, 200 miles, right? That was actually broken into / robbed, and was held at gunpoint with him and his girlfriend / wife. And they were beaten, and they stole a lot of his collection. And because that happened, his wife had some great concerns. And he brought up some good points, because a lot of people don't talk about this in the collecting world. His wife had some real concerns. Obviously, he just had a baby, you know what I mean? So you want to be in protective mode, and he was like, yeah, between like we needing more space for the baby and this just happening, and my wife was really concerned about it. And she was like, it makes good points that, okay, we all don't know where Michael B. lives, right? We don't know. I mean, some of us know his full name, but he's not broadcasting his address every video at the end. But that doesn't mean you can't find a person like that necessarily, especially because if you know where he lives in Canada, he's kind of in some smaller pockets. So he's not like he's not like in a major metropolitan area where it might be harder to find him. He's in a smaller pocket of a place, right? So you might have a chance to run into him if you kind of know in the general area that he's at. So they were like, she was really worried about it, and he was like, he made a conscious decision, like, well, I need more room for my kid, and my wife's worried, and because I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of shit now in my home that is valuable, and people know that I have, that would be easy for them to break in and try to get. And what if they broke in when I was here and they hurt my wife or my kid, and it just becomes a huge hassle. And so he basically was praying that the series is over because of all these fears. And what he has done, essentially, he told everyone, was he went through and started selling a lot of his collection off.
Whoa, dude! I didn't know
He
that.
did not go into details necessarily about like if he sold Nintendo games only, or if he sold Genesis games only, if he sold NES stuff or Super Nintendo, or he kept all of like his original stuff, because he was another one of those guys who talked about that a lot of his boxes and stuff were ones he kept from when he was a kid, or whether he just
Mm-hmm.
sold the stuff that this. But he did come through and say, yeah, the reason why you haven't seen my room and you may not see it in that state, or I won't do these collections videos, because he's pretty much said, like, I've kind of stopped collecting to a certain degree, and he said I'm not really going to go for that full collection anymore. And he said, like I said, I sold some stuff off. He said he was able to pass it on and sell some people, some he knew, and get rid of some stuff. And he's no, I think he kind of said it in no certain terms, he's a retired collector now. He's, like he said, he still loves video games, he still wants to play them, but he's kind of done collecting. Which is interesting because he was a huge collector. Michael B had a huge fucking collection. But if you look at it the way he's talking about it, he's got a good point. I mean, you got to be worried about that shit.
I actually have been worried about that myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And not even just from something like robbery or whatnot, just fires or
That
any other any floods, depending on where you live. I mean, there's a lot of other shit that you got to think about.
I'm worried about having someone maybe that I don't know too well coming over, or seeing what I got and being a big mouth to somebody else who is a questionable character, and then they get crazy ideas. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's the thing. Then you got to start questioning what people you let in your house, what things. Because
Yep.
normally you don't. I mean, yeah, you always want to be selective about who comes
I'm
in.
pretty picky. I'm pretty picky.
I mean,
on who I
you
let
want to
into
be
my
you
house.
want to be you want to be somewhat selective about what's coming in your house. But I mean, unless you've got a lot of expensive shit, you may not be too necessarily worried about it. But I mean, yeah, you should still be selective about who comes in your home. But like you said, it's not necessarily always the person you let in, but the person you let in, and then they go, yeah, when in casual conversation, yeah, my buddy's got like a, you love old video games, and he's talking to some other person he knows maybe not too well or knows well. Yeah, this other guy I know, man, I was at his house. He has like every Nintendo game, and then that guy is a shady character, not the guy you dealt with, and then they get the
Yep.
information, and then that becomes a problem. Because I mean, like I said, these aren't, and we're not sitting behind gold bars or anything like on my shelf behind me, but they're not necessarily like worth $2 or $3.
Yeah.
Some of those games on the shelf back there, you might be able to get $200 plus for. And to somebody who's a thief, a petty thief, having an easy score like breaking in a house and just throwing all these games in a bag and running out is a lot easier to deal with, especially when you know that if you steal a TV nowadays, sometimes it can be tracked. It's a little bit harder to offload it at a pawn store or a Craigslist or
Yeah.
whatever. Nintendo games and stuff like that, because they're not serialized necessarily, is almost impossible to track. Almost impossible. So it's a really easy flip. And they're small, they're lightweight. It's nothing heavy like most electronics that are worth money. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a different. It could be easy to get ripped off. I do worry about it myself. I'm starting to amass fairly reasonable amount of money in smaller objects. Like I don't know if I told you this, Wes, or maybe you saw. I now have a TurboGrafx CD with the TurboGrafx, of course. So
Yeah.
that one piece with everything in it is probably, with no games or anything, it's probably in the realm of $300 to $400. That's what the value of that is. And it would be very easily to pick that up and steal it and sell it and be untraceable. And that's just one piece. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, if my GameCube's going to be worth much, no, but if that that might be worth much. My Halo Xbox may not be worth a lot, but it's where it'd be worth like $80 or $100. That's an easy sell. Some of the other ones that I have, my ColecoVisions, or just you pick about 20 games off my shelf, you might make a nice little hefty sum of money.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing. I mean, there are some stuff that we have in these collections that we prize that are worth a lot of money to other people, and especially if they want to get it for drugs or booze or whatever the fuck else they want, it's an easy score. So
Yep.
it was really interesting. And I thought for a minute, I was like, maybe he's putting him on, but I watched his face when he was talking about it. I was like, God, he's fucking serious. I hadn't, I thought about it, but never really thought about it. It really hit a nerve with me to see someone that I respect a lot try to actually come through and tell us that why he made that decision. You know what I mean? And the real fears about it. And he's got a good point. You know? I mean, I live in a pretty safe neighborhood, but I am pretty. I do get worried about people when they come over, like some of my wife's friends or people I don't know very well, because I don't know. Like I said, I mean, it's you never know who might try to break in your house and just steal a bunch of this shit, and then you're out tons and tons and tons of money.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so he talked about that. He talked about having some insecurities about not getting some views on videos and stuff like that, and it's a great video just to watch. Somebody being very truthful, I think, about and revealing about why they stopped doing this and.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out tonight.
It's really good. It's really weird because you would think just a Q&A of somebody sitting there. I remember I saw it as like Q&A. I remember I skipped over it for like a day and a half because like that's a throwaway video. I've seen people do Q&As. They're kind of boring. But then he got into such like heavy duty shit. I was like, whoa, this is like not a Q&A. This is like a where have I been trials and tribulation video. Really well, really good. And I love Michael B. He's like I said, I even put in there. I was like, man, you're so honest. Like that's a guy who I would love to meet in real life and just know because he seems like a really good, smart, intelligent guy. You know, he just got a lot of stuff going for him. Really, really good guy. But I'm glad he's back in the community and doing podcasts and the shit like that. And he's going to continue to do stuff, not as much as he used to, but to some degree like that. But yeah, that's a great video. If you guys have not, I'll have to maybe try to drop it in the description here for those of you guys who don't know who Michael B is. Maybe you can watch it. Good channel, good guy, really good video. Talked and hit on a few more things that I didn't talk about as well. But really interesting. Maybe start you think too. Like I said, I'm not a big collector, but I do have some stuff in my home that is worth bits of money. I've always worried about like my instruments and stuff being stolen. But in the end of the day, instruments like maybe most of my expensive ones have serial numbers engraved in the necks and stuff, so there is a possibility I could get some of that stuff back if they try to sell it. But yeah, video games I know would be impossible. If somebody stole my Contraforce, it'd be impossible for me to find it. I mean, really, it'd be like you already even prove if someone did sell it that it was my copy and not some other copy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean. Really interesting because I've been thinking about for a while selling some of my collection off, and I think I'm going to start doing it, kind of trim back because I'm running out of room as well. But yeah, really good stuff. Really good. Another goes along, I guess, with what I was talking about with AVGN earlier about getting older and having different priorities in life and having to kind of reevaluate, you know, how you're doing your business on your channel. Now, what'd you say, Project Genesis? He's a good speaking voice. Oh, he's got a good speaking voice. And he isn't trying to be funny with lame skits. No, he's not. He's just lame enough to be funny. He knows he's kind of hamming it up with certain things, and that's why I really like it. Genuine guy, really, really, really genuine guy. Good stuff. Well, I've got 2 more topics that I'm going to do, but I'm going to give Wes a chance to take a bathroom break and me get a bathroom break. So I think someone before told me you should have musical guests, which is, by the way, is impossible. I can't book live musical guests. I don't know who the fuck brought that up. It's not possible. But what I can do is I can do like a commercial break and lend you over to an artist that I enjoy. And I do video game remixes, so you're probably going to see me do that you all can listen to and enjoy while me and Wes relieve ourselves, get some water, scratch our ass, whatever, for a couple minutes and give us a little break here. So we're going to go to one of my favorite guys, remixers of all time, Hyde209, just did a remix from Devil's Crush, which is a pinball game, and I'm not sure I think it was TurboGrafx as that one was on. I could be wrong. Do you know much about it? It's Devil's, yeah. So he did a remix of Devil's Crush. It was really cool. He always does good stuff. Project Genesis in here does remixes. Maybe one day I'll grab him. I'm sorry, man. I know you just put out a what'd you put out, a Rygar video, but I like pinball a little bit more right now than Rygar. But he just did a really good Rygar video. But
hey, I'm down with Rygar.
Him. Yeah, he did good. He did a good one. But I think I'm gonna do Devil's Crush this time. So we're gonna take like a little 3 to 5 minute break. I don't know exactly how long this video is, and then we'll be right back. All right. We are back. That was some Devil's Crush, man. Hyde209, man. That guy, huge library of shit, man. If you guys are not familiar with video game remixers, you're new to it, think it's a dumb idea, whatever, there are a few people that I could direct you to start that I think might get you into that type of a thing, and he's definitely one of them. He has such a huge body of work. I think you could search through his stuff and find a few games that you really like that might turn you on to the whole idea. And then once you're into it, then maybe you'll go ahead and look for some of like my work or Project Genesis, or maybe hit up any of the other ones like Viking Guitar, any of the huge amounts of people that are out there. But yeah, it's good stuff. Definitely go check him out. And like I said, Project Genesis also does stuff as well. He just did a Rygar video. We'll have to have to showcase him. He's a good guy as well.
Yeah, you should drop the link to that video in here. I want to watch it later.
Yeah, definitely. So I got a few more, and this one goes with this one's gonna be right inside of Mr. Wes's wheelhouse, because he's a big I'm not saying fanatic, but he's a big fan, I think, of Stephen King. We did a show, a Halloween show, I don't even know how long ago, about
now
Stephen
you could
King.
say I'm a fanatic.
Okay, we'll say fanatic. I don't like to pull out the F word too much, but we'll call him a fanatic. And I think at the time we were doing the Stephen King video last time together, I want to say I don't know if it was confirmed they had started shooting, or it was still just an idea for the remaking of it. I think we touched on it. I don't know if we had known. I know we didn't know a lot of the details, if we did know if it was being made or not. But
I think really all we knew is that they were going to remake it, but that was just about it.
Yeah.
Just like hearsay.
So, exactly. So now we know it's a real thing. We have a real trailer. It's happening. People have been weighing in on the reactions. Of course, we have not. We have no idea, how well it's going to do. We're still waiting for the full movie to come out. But we'll go ahead and pick up on this. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to do this in semi-professional manner. By I'm going to actually let you all watch the trailer, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. So we have like a little 2.5 minute thing, and we'll watch the trailer together. If you guys don't know or haven't seen the trailer before, maybe give a little context here. So we'll watch that, and then we'll come back and talk about it real quick. So feast your eyes a little bit as we try to do some cool little video inserts here.
There you go. She's all ready, Captain.
Thanks, Billy. It's not like any time I've ever been in before. People die or disappear 6 times the national average. And that's just grown-ups. Kids are worse. Way, way worse. We all float down here.
I saw something. There was this
Clown. Yeah, I saw him too.
Look. It's all connected by the sewers. That's where it lives. What happened?
with me, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
When I was little, we used to move all the time.
All right. So that was the trailer. If any of you all had not seen it, I'm sure Project Genesis has. He just mentioned that it's the only remake he ever wanted. So, so what you've seen so far, which I know is limited, but you're seeing a trailer, you get a little bit of a peek of how it's going to look and everything like that, and maybe I guess some parts of the story. What do you think, Wes?
I think it looks pretty sweet, dude. One of my favorite parts in the book is when they go into that boarded up house that you saw there.
Mm-hmm.
And they completely took that out of the made-for-TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see what they do with that.
Okay.
So it looks like it's going to be a lot more faithful to the book, and that is a great thing.
Okay. Nice. Let me ask you this. What is your? I mean, it's a somewhat classic, whatever you want to call it. What do you think about the original It? What were your thoughts
The original
on it?
movie?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for what it is. It's a TV miniseries, whatever, 2-part TV miniseries, and for what it was for network television, I think they did a pretty damn good job with it. People to this day, that movie still scares them, and it was on network TV, and I think they did a pretty good job with it for what they could do, what they could show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the kid actors in the original were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job casting the children in the original. The adults, not so much, but the children, definitely.
Nice. I got you. Okay. Well, I'm not as big and I say it's not that I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I didn't follow it very much growing up. I saw a little bit of it. So I'm not too familiar. So I don't have like nostalgia about the book or about any of that shit. So I don't know how I want to see it, but I don't have any real basis for it. It looks, if it's on its own, since I don't know a lot about the story itself, it looks like it's going to be a good movie. I always like when they do Stephen King stuff, as long as it's done well. Mm-hmm. And this one looks like it's going to be done the right way. And like you said, it was totally different, for TV. You could only get away with so much, so you have to kind of dial some stuff back. You get limitations like that. With a movie, you'd have real no limitation. Well, you have limitations, but you don't have a lot of limitations. So it should be interesting to see how they can present it. I think it's been a long enough time. Maybe the technology's gotten a little better for it. They've taken a different approach. It definitely looks a lot more scary. Not to say that the clown from the other It wasn't scary, but it was kind of more. It was comical. It wasn't as scary. It got scary, but this one off the bat looks like it's a little bit disturbing. So I mean, it looks like it's going to be good. It'll be interesting to see how many of the qualities from the book, of the stuff that I know people didn't like that was omitted from the story, makes it in. So that will be good to see. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to give it a little bit of a look just because I know Wes is as he put it, a fanatic for Stephen King stuff. And just kind of give it a little couple minutes. I'm sure we'll have way more stuff to talk about when it actually comes out. Do you know when the release date for that movie is?
I don't. Let's take a look.
See if we look it up. But yeah, I'm sure when the movie comes out, we'll have a lot more stuff to talk about as far as how well it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Wes went out and saw it in the theaters, maybe opening night. Who knows? I don't know.
September 8th. Oh, yeah, dude. That's definitely a movie I would be there on opening night for sure. September 8th.
I got you. So, yeah. So, we'll have to do like a whole unveiling, whole thing about it. September. Okay, I like the time difference in movies is the same amount of years, but it's usually hybrid. Yeah. So so we'll have definitely a much bigger event coming out that we can when it does come out, we'll talk about it. I'll probably go see it just so we can all talk about it together. But yeah, it should be pretty good. I just want to get it. It's a couple minutes in there. One other thing, I want to talk about some freaking games that are coming out, which I think are interesting. Prey. I know the campaign for the trailers and stuff is starting to really hit YouTube and Twitch, and so I'm seeing it, and even on Hulu, I think I'm seeing it a lot. So they're really starting to pimp it out. I had no idea that it was coming out. And I only know Prey from the original Prey that came out on the 360, which I think is arguably a classic release for that system. It was a great game. If you've never played Prey, you should definitely go out and buy it. It's really cheap. It's probably like a $4 or $5 game, but it's an excellent game. And it's hard to explain why it's so good. You really have to play it. But I know for years they had talked about making a sequel because we were all really interested in the way they did it. And it was really neat to see like a Native American Indian type of a hero and work off the spirit world and shit like that. It's really interesting. But we never got it. It dragged along for years. They talked about doing it, then it was like never good timing. And I guess it was probably better that they scrapped it rather than try to push it like they did with Duke Nukem. And now we're getting a movie in the style of, or a game in the style of Prey, with the same title, but like a totally different take. So that they've taken the Native American Indian thing out of it, but they're still with aliens and them taking over the world and stuff like that. And a lot of it looks like it's built on like the same kind of engine. So I've pre-ordered it. I don't pre-order a lot of games, but I did pre-order this game. It looks pretty good. I'm excited about it. Hopefully the story holds up. Another one that I wanted to mention it looks interesting, and I don't know, maybe Wes may have a little more to talk about on this one. Friday the 13th has finally gotten its release date. I don't know how long I've been fucking waiting for this damn movie or this damn game. I think even last year, I think they were really struggling to try to make an October deadline, and they finally came out and said, "Yeah, it's not happening. If we want a good game, we missed it." Because obviously, when you release a horror movie game, you want to have it in October. I mean,
that would be ideal.
It's like if they released a Saw movie in February, that's just it doesn't have the same validity. Even in It, now it would have been nice that it released in October, but September, October, November, it's all kind of the same kind of fall spooky time. You know what I mean? So they're at least doing it that way. Like if Valentine's Day for It would have been ridiculous, or any other stupid. It's not dumb. So. It's all about the right day, but they totally missed it. They came out and said, hey, with all the material, all the stuff we're trying to do, we don't want to rush a product, so we're going to wait. And then they came back and they said at some point, well, we're not going to have like a full game at release. We'll have like a multiplayer game, and then we'll build the story in later. What they were trying to pull one of those fucking things. And I don't know where we are now 100% with it, because they delayed it again, because I think at some point I heard it was supposed to be out around January, but it still obviously did not. And I don't know if now we're getting the full complete game all in one package, or we're still getting like half of a game. But I want to say the date now is May, like the second or third weekend of May is when we know it's going to come out. So a little bit under a month that we're going to finally see this game come out. And they've put a lot of work in this game. There's a lot of revisions, a lot of crowdfunding, a lot of people from the original movies are behind it, Kane Hodder, stuff like that. For a while, I know the beta was up for Steam, and a lot of people were streaming that and testing that out. I really think that everything I've seen from this game, and the fact that they're not rushing it, because it's not being put out by a big company. You know what I mean? This game, I think, under anyone else's flag, probably would have already been pushed out, and they would have worried about patching it after the fact.
Yeah.
But I think they're really, to their detriment, that they missed their window. And obviously, if they still wanted to, they could wait till October, but they know people will want it, and so they need to get it out. I think we're going to get a good game. We're going to get a well-built, maybe all games need patches, but we're going to get a really good quality product out in our hands that we can play and hopefully enjoy. I'm actually been looking to try to find a place where I can pre-order it, but it doesn't look like they have pre-orders up as of yet. I'm sure within the next week or two they will. because that's another one that I want to get my hands on. Because the multiplayer looks cool, and hopefully there's a really cool story and other stuff like that. So, have you seen much about it? Obviously you know it was coming. I would imagine you know it was coming out, but have you been following it much at all, or?
I haven't. I usually don't follow stuff that I'm looking forward to because I want to like go in fresh. Mm-hmm. So I really don't know too much about it at all.
Yeah, well, it's coming. I'm really interested to see how good it's going to be. But I've seen so much of the gameplay footage, I kind of think I have a good grip on it. It does look really unique. I do like the idea of you could be the killer one round, or you can be the counselors and trying to hide, and the different things, and the way they've kind of Jason still moves slow, but he can like teleport and sense and see through shit. It's actually really cool the way they've done the whole thing, and how you can hide under beds or break through windows, and it's really neat. It should be a good should be introducing some good gameplay mechanics that I think we may have not seen in any other games before. So I'm looking forward to it. Are you going to try to get it anytime soon? You're going to wait till it goes on sale, or
well, I still need to get a current gen console, so
this is true. Yeah, I believe it's just being at least about as wide as it can get, with the exception of the Nintendo is not getting a launch, of course. It's getting a PC, Xbox One, and a PlayStation release. So you should be able to catch it on any of them. I know Wes doesn't have a computer, I don't believe, that can run high-end games. And I'm not to say this is a super high-end, but it's not low-end either. So, yeah, like you said, if you don't have a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you may be kind of stuck. I don't think I'm going to buy any more games necessarily on consoles than I have to. So I'll definitely be getting it on PC, just like I'm getting Prey on PC. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm hopefully some of the other guys that I know get it so I can play, because I think this is going to be a badass, kick-ass game. Do you have any other new games that are coming out this year that you are kind of looking forward to?
Not really, dude. I haven't seen one of the reasons I haven't got a current gen console yet or whatever is just there aren't really any games that I don't know that have really intrigued me. I did the Kickstarter for Bloodstained, but I think, boy, that may still have like another year before release. So,
God damn, dude.
I'm kind of waiting for that game to get the current gen console, really. I have so many games, like so many retro games to keep me busy and making videos and stuff. Like I got plenty of stuff to keep me busy until that happens, so I'm not too worried about it. And like I said, I really haven't seen any games that I'm drawn to. Just I don't know, but because I don't have the consoles, I really haven't been following them too much either. But I don't know. A lot of these current gen games, they all look the same to me.
Yeah, no, they do, and I don't get excited about a lot of games anymore. So at least new ones. So when a game comes out, I'll be one of those guys who's kind of figure, drop a little money on it, play it, see how it works. And I know the last couple ones I bought and were kind of disappointment. Like I remember I bought Battlefront, the new Star Wars game that just came out a year ago. It was a Battlefront. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I bought that, and I really bought that because I got like a month or two before I had bought like a brand new high-end video card, and people were making such a big deal about how well that game looked, as far as graphics wise. Mm-hmm. So I got the game. I was like, because I wanted a game that could push the limits, and that was just one of them that I heard of. And I remember I got it and I played it. And honestly, I don't think it's. It looked good, but it wasn't anything to write home about. I remember I had some problems with the fact that a lot of it was online. There wasn't like any really story mode and stuff like that. It kind of got old quick for me, so I've only really played it a handful of times. It's kind of a waste.
Yeah.
Like Doom. Like had Doom come out at the same time, I would have rather just bought Doom, because I don't play Doom a lot ever since I've beaten it. But I think Doom was a lot better game and looked a lot better than what Star Wars is to me.
Yeah.
Doom was a really good game to have on full tilt with a good graphics card and everything. So that was good. But yeah, Star Wars wasn't. But yeah, I don't really. Honestly, I don't see a lot of games that come out too much anymore. Like the last one I really wanted to play, which was, I guess I could get it on PC and console, but I'm not 100% sure. It would have been Gears of War 4. But, I remember it kind of came and went. I didn't have a lot of money at the time, and I should have bought it, but then I had some opportunities to buy it, and I didn't. And now it's like, it's almost been out like at 8 months, and I still really don't have any like urge to go. I didn't get it, and I don't. Yeah. I really do. I know it sounds stupid, y'all, but I have an Xbox One. I don't own PlayStation, so it doesn't count. But I do have an Xbox One, and I hardly ever play it. And it could be really easy for me to go out and buy Gears of War 4, pop it in, and blow through the campaign because I like the game. But I really have a hard. It's really weird. I really have a hard time with buying a game and putting it on my Xbox. And I'm sure it has the same. I'm sure it wouldn't be any different if I had a PlayStation 4 too. Because what pisses me off more than anything is the fact that every game I buy, I've got to install something.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, there was a thing where it's like, hey, if you install it, the game loads quicker. And that I could get with. Because it's like, okay, if I want to, I can install it and make it better. But I don't have to. Now I've always got to worry about, do I have enough space? Do I got to do this? Or I'm sure if I bought Gears of War 4 now and I put it in, I'd probably have to download a patch before I could even just fucking play it, because I'm sure there's a game-breaking patch that they had to make you do before you can just play the game. And it just takes so much to get a game to run nowadays. Like, fuck it, why am I doing all this shit? It gets so fucking frustrating. Because all I want to do is put the disc in like I used to, let it spin up, and then I want to play my game. I don't want to go through all this shit of patches and installing, and it takes like an hour before I can fucking play the game. You know what I mean? So I'm almost to the point now where if I can get Gears of War 4 on my PC, I'd rather just do that, because when I do the original install, it's going to tell me whether or not if I need a patch or whatever, and it will just do it all at once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can mess with like the graphical interface and make maybe the shadows or this or that better, and choose the size of my window, and then choose the controller that I want to use and stream it directly. It just makes more sense for me to do that way than to get my fucking console all hooked up to do it. So, I mean, my fucking graphics card was more expensive per the dollar than my fucking Xbox One was. I paid like $390 for my graphics card. And the Xbox One was like $400. So I mean, it might have been $350, because I got it was like a year ago. I got a Radeon 390 RX. I can't remember. It's the 8GB model. So I mean, it pushes some really high end shit. So yeah, I don't really see the point anymore. But yeah, that's why. So I'm not getting excited about these fucking games, because like Wes was saying, a lot of them come out and they just don't. They don't make big waves, or they're not really interesting. Like the last one I was kind of excited about too was Civilization 6, but I heard that it had so many game-crushing freeze-up points that I was like, fuck it, why am I going to buy it if it's going to freeze? I might as well just wait for a year until they patch it and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of a big Civ guy, but like if the first thing I'm reading when I see your game is people bitching about the fact that they need patches and it's broken, why the fuck am I going to pay you $60 to get it? Yeah, when I know it could take 3 or 4 months to fucking get the game, or to get the patch. That's bullshit. Why the fuck was it released if it's fucking broken? Did you not have time to fucking work it out? I mean, what the hell happened? It's almost like there's no testing anymore. They just ship these fucking games knowing that they can fix them later, and so they're like, fuck it, we'll release it 2 months early, or we'll just meet it to make our deadline. And I mean, that's a common problem overall, but that's one of the reasons why I stay away from fucking new games almost, unless it's just something I really gotta have. But yeah, so I don't get excited anymore. I mean, I almost thought about getting Halo Wars 2, but I've yet to see it released for PC. It looks like it's just being released on the Xbox One console. So, and I don't want to, again, and this is don't get me wrong, I played Halo Wars 1 when it was on 360. There's no reason why you should play, what is it? I forget, do you know what they're called? Turn-based strategy. No, not turn-based strategy. It's a real-time strategy or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know, dude.
RTS. There's no reason to play a real-time strategy game on a console. You need a keyboard. You need a mouse. That's the only way to play it. You got to be able to do your macros. You'll just get slaughtered if you're trying to move around joystick using like a mouse type interface.
Yeah.
It's dumb. You don't fucking. Would you want to play Warcraft 2 on a fucking on a controller? You nuts? Fuck it. Give me a keyboard and a mouse. You lost your goddamn mind. So I don't think I'll ever play that game either. Not that I thought that Halo Wars was good to begin with, but yeah. So yeah, and I have some gripes with the new systems or the new games that are coming out. Don't really see the point. The only one I ever really bother with is Nintendo, just because I think some of their games are still pretty quality when they do put them out. Not they don't put out very many, but when they do, it's pretty quality.
Yeah, goddamn Nintendo.
Yeah. So, and I got to have their console in order to play their shit. It would be nice if I could get it on computer or whatever, but I don't know. We may never see that day. We may. Who knows? But
probably not.
Probably not. Exactly. So yeah, nothing really new. But those are the games that I'm interested in. And like I said, when Prey comes, I think I want to say Prey gets released the first week of May, so maybe like 2 weeks. Since I got my thing on pre-order, I will be streaming it. So if any of y'all want to see what it looks like, Prey looks like one of those games I'm going to sit there, I'm going to put like 8 or 10, 12, 15 hours, however long the game is, and just beat it. It looks like it's going to be a fun playthrough. So I'm kind of, unless I get stuck, of course. But that looks like a fun one. So if you guys want to see what that game looks like, I'll be playing that soon. And hopefully Friday the 13th as well. Hopefully it's cheap, but I've heard it's going to be like $60 or $80. So that could be an expensive game. Definitely like full tilt price wise. So, but oh well, it is what it is. I mean, I guess if they spent that many years on it, they deserve to be able to charge a little bit for it. But well, that is about all that I have, unless Mr. West had something else that he wanted to bring up. I think we've pretty much covered everything we wanted to. Nice shirt, by the way. I like Fear Factory. I'm going to say something. Not a lot of people talk about Fear Factory anymore, and it's unfortunate. And that they were never like Wes might tell you differently. Fear Factory was never like a huge band. Like they didn't like blow it out. They were well known, but they were never like. They never went to like next level shit. But I think, what's unfortunate is I think because they didn't get next level and maybe it was a different style, so to speak. And maybe to me, I always kind of thought that Fear Factory was a little bit ahead of its time. Just a smidge,
they definitely
just
were.
A smidge. Because if you look, like they were doing it in a time period where they noticeably stood out and were unique. But you fast forward like 5 or 10 years past their prime, and all of a sudden a lot more bands were doing that, and they were being called like progressive metal. Maybe they were taking a little bit even more. You were getting guys like Lamb of God and I'm really bad with names. There's a couple of them. My buddy's really big into that shit, but there's a lot of them. Even Dream Theater was kind of pushing the envelope with some of that kind of shit. So some of that stuff that they were doing was kind of like stuff that the progressive metal guys were doing. And they started getting big, but they were already past. Do you know what I mean? They had already done it, and they played to a much smaller audience because at the time it was unique and it was something to get into. But now it was the norm 5 or 10 years later, and they missed the train because they were already done, and they had I think changed. They've gone through some band members, and didn't they go through a lead singer change as well?
No,
or was it?
But they broke up for a little bit. And then they reformed without the original guitarist. And then the original guitarist came back, and that's, I don't know, now it's basically the lead singer and the original guitarist and a couple of rent-a bandmates, I guess.
Yeah, so they've kind of
rent a drummer, rent a bassist.
Yeah, they've kind of had some things go a little bit, awry, but I always thought Fear Factory in the end, even though it wasn't necessarily my 100% like my go-to music, I thought they did a really, really good job. They were just a little bit ahead of their time, and I think had they waited a little longer, they may have been a lot bigger than what they really were. So, but it's nice to see somebody with a Fear Factory shirt, because you don't see those too much anymore.
Oh, I got a ton of them.
So, but yeah, Fear Factory is a good band. Fear Factory is a really good band. Never seen Fear Factory? Check them out. And one other thing, and this is the last music thing I'll mention, and I'll shut up and we'll go away. Another band that I think was slightly ahead, and not in the sense of the style of Fear Factory, that I think if you go back and listen to their CDs, just a little bit too ahead to me was Alien Ant Farm. Interesting band. Their musicianship, you might say, is questionable. It's, they're not that good. They're another one of those stock bands that came out in that time frame. But I think if you listen to their whole entire CDs, the ones that were not hits or the ones that were like B-side hits are really quality music. I think the singer did pretty well. The guitar player and the bass player did pretty well in the way they did their stuff. They had some really strong songs in their 3 or 4 CDs that they did put out. But I think they were just a little bit ahead of it, and they tried to change too much, and then they got squashed. I know a lot of people know them from like Smooth Criminal and stuff like that, and like their first album, Alien Anthology, was the biggest. But I really think they had a lot to offer, but they got squashed. It's a little bad timing, kind of like Fear Factory. You know what I mean? Timing is everything. So maybe you don't get as big as you should get. But all right, so I'll get off of that, and we'll leave that to it is. I don't know when the next one we're gonna do. Maybe I'll wait. I'll probably wait like at least 2 weeks. Some stuff will be coming. Maybe Prey will be out by then. We'll talk about that. Maybe someone else will get beat up on another airline or something. We'll have shit to talk about then. You never know what happens in the fucking news. But we'll come back and we'll definitely do another one. I appreciate and like to thank Wes for stopping by. It's always nice to have Wes here. Maybe next time we'll try to get Popka when he's not trying to move.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, the Dolly Popka is always good to have on. But we're going to go ahead and sign off. And I appreciate you all for stopping by tonight. And have a good one, y'all.
Later.